7 years into our Build a Nation save here at KFLotsnia, we know a couple of things to be fairly certain. Pretty sure we're going to win the league, and we're going to do so pretty easily. Fairly certain we are going to win the Albanian Cup coming into this year. We've done it the last 4 seasons, and pretty sure that we are going to make a group stage in Europe. It's something that we've done for a while, and almost in that category is making the knockouts of a European competition, but we're not going to count our chickens before they are hatched. The only thing up until this point that we have not had, it's another Albanian side dancing with us. And welcome back, my friends, as we recap season number 7 of our Rise with Albania. The red rain is most assuredly on. And if you've been enjoying the series so far, please make sure that you take a moment to hit that like button right below this video. Drop me a comment. Let me know what you think of what we are doing. If you have any suggestions, who are your favorite players? I know that there's some love out there for Luka Tosi. Is there anybody else on the squad that you just absolutely want to see more of? Please let me know in the comments, although I do recognize that maybe they've been sold by the time you watch this. Oh well. Anyway, we are, as I mentioned, on the rise. Velotsnia have moved up 47 places. We are now ranked 70th in the new European club rankings for the 2029-2030 season. We are finally starting to see an increase in our reputation, which hopefully will lead to better players willing to take the chance and come to our little club. We came into the season with about 18 million in transfer budget and about 175 to 200,000 in empty wage budget. So we had plenty of money to spend, and well, we tried. We did spend a little of it, 1.3 million euros, in fact, for a new 22-year-old Serbian U21 international center back by the name of Veljko Milosavljevic. Boy, is this guy good. He's like a cut above the rest. He's right up there with Nemanja Djekovic. I definitely think he's better than Luka Broderic, at least on paper. Decent with the heading, stands at 6'3". Tremendous physicals, tremendous mentals. Not really a lot in his technicals that I don't absolutely love. Maybe if he was a better dribbler, but that's not really how we play our game. Looking to size up a little bit on that back line. And my favorite part of him, no cons. Always on the search for depth at fullback. We brought in an 18-year-old center back who could also play out on the right side and the left a little bit, although he does have a weak right foot, which I am noticing now. His name is Justin Gutierrez. He only cost us 61,000 euros, and he has 3 senior caps for Costa Rica. So I think this kid may be special. Love the bravery. He can get in the air too. He's also 6'3", tremendous tackling ability, good positioning, good marking, concentration is fantastic, and he makes good decisions. And look at that work rate, teamwork. Yeah, this kid's going to fit in really, really well. 21-year-old Brazilian Vladimir is a natural midfielder, but I'm thinking more of a potential depth option at defensive midfield, although I think ideally I would like to loan him out. Didn't cost us a ton. He won't be able to be homegrown either, which is a little bit of a negative, slightly inconsistent as well. But generally speaking, a decent player at a great price. That was 8,750 euros, by the way. 21-year-old Peruvian international, 2 goals in 4 caps for his country. Johan Montoya. He is a natural left winger, but he can also play striker. A bit more diminutive. Another player that we are hoping to loan out in this transfer window was really hoping to bring in a higher quality caliber of player that we could then loan out to the other sides around Albania. Still not 100% successful with that, not gonna lie. And finally, for the ins in the summer window, 20-year-old Serbian right winger / attacking midfielder. 2 positions we do not play. Vukašin Gavrilovic, his whole purpose is to go elsewhere. I believe I was looking at Belis, who needed additional depth on the right wing. Now, if he'll end up going there, I don't know, but I was trying to fill the need of a team that was not my own. With that being said, regardless of the money we spent, which was about 2.2 million euros, we actually still had a positive net transfer spend, and you'll see why in just a little bit. First, we're going to get to the guys that have gone out on loan. Pietro Giannone saw some time last season at center back with us in the latter half of the year, is going to be spending this season at KF Bilis out on loan. Arland Ndoye will enjoy his 21st year on this earth at Dinamo City. Sergio Dashi, who I kind of had plans to be a backup striker for us this year, ended up taking a loan deal at KS Castriati, where he will enjoy the majority of the season. 21-year-old center back Alessio Shela, not played a minute for us. He is off on loan to Balkani in Kosovo. Honestly, not sure how that worked out. 21-year-old Albanian goalkeeper Gentien Jalili is out on loan to our affiliate side in Pokradeci. Midfielder Beshmir Dervishi, probably not going to re-sign him at the end of the year. Not a ton of upside for him, but he is on loan at Velashiku. Paolo Remarini is back out on loan for another year. Going to spend the season at KF Tirana after a pair of years with Skenderbau, a club that has kind of ticked me off a little bit. I'm honestly trying very hard not to send players there. Ishmael Krasniki, the 17-year-old right back, is going to spend the year at Flamartari, back in the top flight once again. Sergio Orsini is off to Kukesi. Kevin Shiba will once again be a teammate of Giannone because he is going to spend the year at KF Bilis. A couple of players going to see some playing time at the second tier with Turbina Sherik. First, there is right back Adrian Billy. I call him a right back, but every time I look at him, he's playing left back. And he's going to be joined there by Idrit Idrizi. Meanwhile, Elis Kushili is going to be chilling at Lazio. And Shredin Kristic, the 20-year-old Serbian we picked up last year for 475,000 euros, is going to spend this season on loan at Dinamo City. We did also say goodbye to a couple of players at the end of their contracts. Bogdan Stojkovic, the 26-year-old midfielder slash right back, just was really not getting any playing time with us. In fact, we kept loaning him out. First to Bilis, then to Ertseni. He ended up joining Ertseni permanently, so it all worked out in the end. Marko Šurčić also gone on a free. He is no longer going to be here in Albania. Even though he scored 20 goals last year, the majority of them were from the penalty spot, so we felt like we weren't really getting the production out of him that maybe we would have if he wasn't on penalty duties, so we decided to say goodbye to him and his salary. And I was a little sad to do it, but Mikhail Brachilika is no longer a member of the Vlatsnia squad. For a while, we kept him on, even amongst diminishing returns as far as stats and general physicality. Now that he's 30 years old, he was still homegrown. We are starting to bring up players now that have come through our system that are enjoying time with the first team, so we no longer needed him for his numbers. He is staying in country. He's going to spend the year at El Bassani. Now, you may be wondering, if all we did was release players on frees and send them out on loans, how did we have a positive transfer window financially? And I can't believe I am wearing this kit because I totally forgot that we got all of that money because we sold Roberto, and we sold him to FC Porto. At the time, he was worth like $1.5 million. They gave us 3.1. Kind of couldn't say no to 3.1. He wanted to go. I wanted to balance the books. Roberto, it was nice knowing you. That's okay. Your Shook is still here. We'll get to Europe in a second, but we're going to touch on our regular season very briefly, and we're going to do it now. Looking at the table after 1 week, we are at the top with a +5 goal difference. I'm showing you this not because you didn't expect us to be at the top, but this is actually the first time we have been at the top after week 1. I'm not going to show you the rest, however, because I don't want to bore you to death. We secured our playoff spot on the 17th of February, and we entered the playoffs in first place on 104 out of a possible 108 points. We were invincible, baby. 34 wins, 2 draws, 0 losses, and oh yeah, by the way, a 46-point gap over second place, Belis. Before we get to the playoffs, there was additional business that was done over the course of the year. I don't want to spoil any of that by showing you results. We did manage to sell Milan Aleksic about a week and a half after the summer transfer window closed. He is off to Romania. He's playing for FCSB. I hope he is happy there because he sure as heck wasn't happy here. We got $240,000 for him. We got him for free. We also got 13 goals out of him in a season, plus they got 4. We were much more active on the incoming in the winter than I thought we were going to be perfectly honest with you. Didn't spend a ton of money on him. Another punt on a defensive midfielder as far as a backup is concerned. 18-year-old Kosovan Felix Janssen, pretty decent, only making $725 a week. I kind of like what he brought us this year, even though none of it was on the offensive side. Spent a little over $500,000, which could raise up to 825,000 euros on 19-year-old Slovak U21 international striker David Benko, and then we immediately turned around and loaned him out to Flamertari. 20-year-old Colombian center back Cliver Olarte, starting to get more and more South Americans in, and I am all for it. On a free, yeah, we loaned him to Skenderbau. I know what I said. This was a move we did for us. 22-year-old center back Vladimir Spasic. We already had Milosavljevic. We already had Djekovic. Spasic is just a breed apart, and he can play anywhere along the back line, which is something we needed. 6'4", tremendous jumping reach. His physicals, in fact, are fantastic. His mentals are fantastic. Marking and tackling, very good. Needs to work a little bit on his positioning, but one little negative, I'm not going to... Okay, he's also potentially injury prone and inconsistent, but whatever. 675,000 euros for him, rising to 1.3 million if certain benchmarks are made, but he has already made a positive impact on this side. More backup. Honestly, a player that I thought we were going to loan out. It just didn't work, but he's good for the locker room. Nice jovial personality on 21-year-old Moroccan U20 international Emani Guessus. Again, he can play right back. Crossing is pretty good for him, especially at his tender age of 21. Good marking, the positioning, teamwork, work rate, concentration, decision making. These are all things that I am loving to see are coming through players. Not as fast as I necessarily would like for the position. I could use a little bit more consistently, and a player that's a bit better in the air. He is 5'7" after all, but we do have plenty of massive coverage at the position as well. And finally, we replaced Aleksic, and I say we replaced Aleksic because he kind of fits the same idea of what I was hoping Alexis would do, with 22-year-old Serbian U21 international Nikola Milovanovic. Man, look at that. 17 dribbling, 15 finishing, 14 technique, 14 decision, 16 aggression. I mean, come on. What is there not to love about this kid? He's 6'2", not the greatest in the air, and he doesn't love the big matches, so maybe we'll move him on for some big money later on, but very glad to get him in. Although he did cost us $2.1 million. I want to make sure I covered all of that before I got to our playoff run, because a lot of those players did factor in. Semifinal round, we took on Flamertari. Vladimir Spasic got the scoring started. That was really all we needed. Weird own goal off of the goalkeeper Marco Moya. Federico Romeo got the ball, shot it, beat the goalkeeper. It ricocheted off of the inside of the post, came back to the goalkeeper, hit him in the back, and then went in the goal. And then Johan Montoya got us a little bit more insurance in the 85th minute. And I do have to say that Jurashuk remains one of my favorite players on the team, if for no other reason than he scored the goal that made us Albanian champions for the 7th consecutive season. Not a single shot on target for Belis in this one. They did have a good year, believe it or not. More on that to come, but once again we found ourselves champions of Albania. And oh yeah, we won the Albanian Cup too. They did manage to get one past us, did Flamertari, but the rest of the time it was all Volotsnia. 6-1 your final score, which is also the same score we put up when we took on Belis in the beginning of the year. in the Super Cup. So now not only have we won 25 consecutive matches in the Cup competition, you remember the last time we lost in the league was opening week of season number 6. So we are closing in on 2 calendar years since the last time we lost in Albania. Some other quick notes before we get to our European campaign. Our youth setup has been recognized amongst the world's best. We are now number 10 in the world. And when that starts to show in our youth intakes, I'll let you know. Meanwhile, Bakim Balai, remember, he left us and we brought him back. Well, he left us again to go to KS Pirelli, but now he is with Apollonia, who, at least this season, was in the top flight. So Bakim Balai came home to Albania. And we did talk about at the end of last video how we bought our stadium and we asked the board and they agreed to expand it. Well, that was just going through the planning stages, apparently all this year. They're going to add 4,000 seats to a maximum capacity of 20,000. It's going to cost $3.6 million and we'll be done in about 4 months, which means that our opening rounds in Europe will not be in front of a packed house. Speaking of Europe, and yes, I am very cognizant about how much time of yours I take up. I'm trying very hard to take up less and less. So I think we're going to go with some fewer highlights this year versus last year. If you liked it better the other way, we can switch back. Pretty easy first qualifying round in the Champions League for us. We kicked things off on the road in Belfast against Northern Irish side Cliftonville. We beat them 4-1 at their place. And even though it took more than 60 minutes for us to score, we cruised to a 3-0 victory at home to win 7-1. Second round against Žalgiris didn't prove to be much more of a fight. An easy 5-1 victory at home, although we did let up a goal, which led to a much tighter result in Vilnius, 2-2 on the night, but 7-3 on aggregate, and we're on to the third qualifying round, where we kicked things off at home with a 3-1 victory over Skandija, Nemanja Djekovic, Federico Romeo, and Enis Tojai, still around, picking up goals, although Jurashuk would leave the game with an injury in the 40th minute, which meant we would only need a single goal, a penalty from Veljko Milosavljevic in the 57th minute to win not only on the night, but to take the tie 4-1. So much like the last couple of years, we would be in the playoff round, which meant we were guaranteed either league phase play in the Champions League or the Europa League until we drew Copenhagen again. And I knew after Veljko Milosavljevic missed his penalty in the 18th minute that we were going to be sunk in this one. They got a single goal on their pitch, just 8 shots on goal to our 11, but it didn't matter. Copenhagen beat us 1-0 in Copenhagen. And try as we might at home, I knew once Diogo Gonçalves converted his penalty in this one that we would be sunk. We managed a 1-1 draw, but ultimately lost the tie 2-1 on aggregate. But that's okay because I was licking my lips, to be honest with you, when our Europa League fixtures came out. Yes, we were starting on the road at Ibrox against Rangers, but then we had Servette and Lugano and PSV at home. Okay, PSV, maybe a little on the tougher side. Then on the road back to Scotland against Aberdeen, Brighton on the south coast of England before hosting Sturm Graz and ending the league phase in Italy against Atalanta. And unfortunately, we got things started off exactly how I expected it. A 2-0 loss at Ibrox. Nicholas Raskin scoring, that would be all they would need. Mohamed Diomande adding a penalty was just the dagger in the back. And then we went through a weird phase which pretty much lasted the entire competition. We drew Servette at home 1-1. And then we did the same against Lugano, 2 matches where we had to score late in order to rescue the point. Veljko Milosavljevic missing another penalty. But 2 very winnable games with PSV coming to town, a match that I thought was going to be super tough for us. Federico Romeo said, I don't think so. Just the 1 goal, however, but we rattled off 21 shots, hit the target 10 times. PSV only found the inside of the frame of the net once, and yet we still only won 1-0 but 3 very important points. Because without them, we would have been knocked out after the league phase. We only managed a 1-1 draw on the road at Aberdeen, even though we led this one through most of the match. While getting lucky to get the same result at the Amex, we just could not hit the target in this one. And when they called a penalty in favor of Brighton and João Pedro converted it, I thought all 3 points were gone. Thank God for Mattia Mosconi and his goal 2 minutes later. We tried pouring it on at the end, but we just could not break through. And we've been having so much fun drawing 1-1, we decided to do it again when we hosted Sturm Graz. Now, Mattia Mosconi scored this time in the early going of this match, and I thought we were free and clear at the death, though. Manpreet Sarkaria able to break through. They just really turned on the Jets at the end of this match. It was kind of frustrating to watch, to be honest with you. And another 2 points just drifting away from our league phase tally. And ironically, of this whole run, I think one of the best matches we played was against Atalanta on the road in Bergamo. Unfortunately, we got absolutely spanked. Goals from Jesper Lindstrom, a pair from Martin Botterina, including one from a free kick that should never have scored. It was just one of those matches that once it started, you're like, yep, we're going to lose. So thank God for that 1-0 win against PSV. And, well, I guess those times that we drew when maybe we should have lost, but we ended up the league phase in 23rd. Remember, we finished 8th last year on a measly 8 points in 8 matches, 1 win, 5 draws, and the 2 losses to bookend the league phase. And wouldn't you know it, because why would it be interesting? But in the knockout rounds, we got Sturm Graz, and we got the scoring started off 15 minutes in. Shook into Mosconi just inside the 6-yard box to give us a 1-0 lead in the home leg. They would equalize. 0.92 was the XG on that shot, which was their first of the game, by the way, to tie it up. But Mosconi heading it home to complete his brace just under 40 minutes in. We would make it 3-1 early in the second half off of a corner. Spasic, which I believe was his second goal of the year at that point. I was very happy with a 2-goal lead and taking that on the road for the second leg, but then Winter put one home, and 3-2 was your final, which did not give me a lot of confidence as we hit the road, which just comes from a lot of experience with Football Manager. And in the snow, it took less than 22 seconds for them to level things up on the tie and take a 1-0 lead in the match. Just a couple of minutes later, 6 minutes in, Biden beaten with a header by Jota made it 4-3, in favor of Sturm Graz. And then Kiteshvili with his second of the night would put them up 2. We would get one back off of a recycled corner. Great turnaround shot by Juraj Shook, but that would be all we would get, and we would be knocked out of the Europa League in the first knockout round, 5-4. Ertseni, meanwhile, would get their season started off in the second qualifying round of the Europa Conference League, where they would travel to Scotland to take on Hibernian and lose 3-2 on the road. Ron Hassani, though, picking up a brace. Not too bad for the young man. But sadly, they just could not get the offense flowing at home, and they get knocked out 3-2 on aggregate. Unfortunate for Tirana in their second qualifying round to run into Czech Bohemians. Didn't do that on purpose, I swear. And they managed to lose at home 4-0. They were unable to eat into that deficit on the road leg, and they too were out of the competition without a win. So we didn't make it as far as we did the year before in the Europa League, and 2 of the 3 other Albanian sides crapped the bed in their first qualifying round, not helping us. Luckily for us, Bilis, well, they came to dance. Because of our new coefficient placing, they got started in the first qualifying round of the Europa League, and they met up with Dunstreda, beat them 1-0 at home. Jefferson Kibe, got to keep an eye on him. Whenever we play Bilis, his name pops up. because he scored again with a little help from Ismail Cisse in the 84th minute to give them a 2-0 victory on the road to make it to the second qualifying round, where they would find a pretty tough draw taking on Malmö, starting things off in Sweden and losing big by a 3-0 score, which is a deficit that Ismail Cisse tried to overcome all by himself, but just fell a little short. 2-0 on the night, so a victory in the points that come with it, but a 3-2 loss on aggregate, which would drop them now into the third qualifying round of the Conference League, where Kibe would find his scoring boots again, picking up a brace, Cisse with another goal, going 4-1 up over TSC at home, where they easily finished the job at TSC Arena by managing a 2-2 draw and a 6-3 aggregate win to get into the playoff round, where they would once again meet up with Malmö and once again lose in Malmö, this time only by a 2-1 score, which means all Bielis would need to do would be outscore Malmö and win the match by 2 goals or more, and they are into the league phase of the Conference League, and that's exactly what they did. A 3-1 victory at home, thanks in part to Ismail Cisse scoring in the 3rd minute of stoppage time in the first half of extra time. Try saying that 3 times fast. 4-3 on aggregate, the ultimate victory, and we finally have another Albanian side in a European League phase competition, where they got off to a rip-roaring start with a 3-1 victory at home against Derry City before crashing back to earth in front of nearly 70,000 in red at Old Trafford, losing to Man United 5-0. Where they seem to catch the draw bug for the middle matches, managing a 0-0 tie against Austria Vienna, 1-1 against Víkingur Reykjavik on the road, before deciding they didn't want to pick up any more points in the competition, losing 1-0 at home to Bohemians, and 3-1 to CFR Cluj, to find themselves just a few points shy of a top 24 place. They finished 27th and didn't make the knockouts. That all being said, we still had our best year in Europe overall. This is what happens when more than one club makes a league phase. First off, we're putting the Republic of North Macedonia in our dust. 6.875 points on the season, giving us a total of 27.5, which, if I've done my math right, will move us up 4 spaces. And we're going to start season number 8 in 23rd. Which means a slight change in the qualification places, which actually may not work in our favor, because now as champions, instead of starting in the first qualifying round of the Champions League, Champions Path, we are now in the second qualifying round. And to be perfectly honest with you, last couple of seasons, we've got some pretty nice cream puffs in that round. Easy points. Overall this year, our production was slightly down in all competitions. We did still manage 5 players with double digits in goals, led by Mattia Mosconi with 23 in all competitions. Vlado Ilic, we have not really talked about him. Remember, we picked him up in the winter window in season number 6. He got a lot of playing time this year because he was just banging in the goals. Mateusz Spazojevic with 16, Enes Tojai with 15, Luka Tosi with 13. Didn't get as much playing time as I would have liked for a couple of reasons. As you can see, looking at those appearances, we really did rotate our squad quite a bit. Tosi still not really able to stay as healthy as I would like. But don't worry, he's not going anywhere. The plan right now for season 8 is to forget about Albania. I could throw out our U19 side and still win the league by double-digit points. I think we need to really start building this club for Europe, and that means we're really going to need to start spending the money. We've already begun doing it. Milosavljevic making $8,000 a week. Milovanovic making $5,250. We actually got him as a bit of a bargain, but Vladimir Spasic, $16,000 a week. And I think this may be the quality of player that we need to start bringing in to have real success in Europe, because pretty soon, if we keep building Albania up, we're going to be going straight into the Champions League phase. We need to be ready for it. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button if you haven't done so already. Check out the Patreon. The link is in the description below. Appreciate any support you can give, especially now that Adobe has raised their prices and making these videos is a lot more expensive for me than it was before, and I don't make any money doing it. So if you feel like you want to financially support the channel, I would not say no. But also subscribe to the channel as well. We're getting closer and closer to 300. I really appreciate all of your support, even if it's just watching for free. I love that you guys are here. I love your feedback. Let me know in the comments what you think we have been doing right, if you think that there are things that we are doing wrong, and have I waited too long to start doing the European rebuild that I'm looking to get into, hopefully in season number 8. We still have to, get players to agree to come to us, but we'll find out if they have when season number 8 drops. Fingers crossed on Friday. Hopefully this little delay with today's episode does not trickle down and push everything back further along in the week. But today's episode of Jesus Take the Wheel is coming out tomorrow. Normally I don't have anything come out on Wednesdays, so there you go. Hopefully we will get caught up and we'll be back with more Red Rain on Friday. Season number 8, we've won Albania 7 times in a row, the Cup 5. We are now looking to build on our performances in Europe. Can we do it? I sure hope so, and I hope you are around to see it. Until then, my friends, bye-bye.